Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm back with another one of my videos. As part of a video series I started around 2 months ago. And exams have ended and Ramadan has started. And so I'm going to make another one for you guys. Hopefully this one will be good because I've been getting a lot of messages about people wanting tips about how they could improve their English. So I decided to take a courageous attempt to give you some ideas about how you could improve your English. But this is by no means a complete guide to talking perfect English. You're not going to come out of it talking like the Queen of England. That's not going to happen. Anyway, so that's the title for today. First thing, and before you get started on anything, is you ask yourself, why would I want to improve my spoken English? Whether it be you're thinking about continuing your career abroad in the US or in the UK or whatever, or whether you just want to increase your fluency so you'd be able to express yourself to the international community better. So there's always a really good reason. You need to define why you want to learn good English. To have a goal to speak good English because you want to speak like those Hollywood people movies. I don't think that made any sense, but anyway. Yeah, so you have to think of a reason why you'd want to get your English sounding pretty good. A wonderful quote I came across is by Charles Mang, who was previously the king of Italy at a very young age. He said, "To have another language is to possess a second soul." Now, isn't that very cool? I think that's amazingly cool. That's one. Why? Number two, I need to clarify that the goal, as I already mentioned, is not to get you coming out of this talk or presentation sounding like George Clooney or Barack Obama or the Queen of England, okay? Basically, I want to give you ideas on how you could help yourself to communicate more effectively. Express yourself comfortably, okay? And we want to focus more on fluency and expressiveness rather than accents, rather than, the superficialities of the language, okay? It doesn't really matter if you have an accent or not. You can work on that after you've learned good English. But the idea is you want to express yourself. You don't want to put yourself in that awkward situation in which someone asks you a question and you close your eyes and you go through the mental dictionary and you're like, my hobbies are, and then you start, translating your mind. Basically, simple idea is to try to get you used to speaking in English. Okay? I hope I clarified that. Before I go into the big idea is to ask you a question. Do you want to know what is actually hindering you from speaking good English? Okay, and this especially goes out to the people who have already tried many things before, like going to courses or practicing at home and failed, or have a kind of a negative attitude towards learning good English. This is the answer, and it will disappoint you because it is the answer to almost every question related to motivation. Is the lack of confidence and the lack of persistence. The lack of confidence is basically to be afraid to make mistakes. Because we can't all help but feel stupid while we're learning English and pronouncing things wrong, and you're afraid people are going to laugh at you and stuff. I mean, I personally experienced this when I was learning French. I would sound like a total idiot. But, I think making mistakes is pretty cool only if you're making mistakes in the process of learning, because if you're making mistakes and you're learning and you're correcting yourself, you're going to get better. So the people with good attitude and confidence in themselves, these are ones who are going to get pretty far. And the second problem is lack of persistence. Now, people usually think, okay, if I take a 2-week course and I go attend every day and do all the homework, I should come out of it pretty fluent, pretty native sounding. And that's not going to happen, right? We need to be persistent. It's like any habit that you want to cultivate or you want to grow in yourself. If you want to, get more muscular, you got to work out, you got to keep doing it. You got to persist at it. And bitter truth is, you're not going to get fluent in a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. You got to keep practicing every day for a long time. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're going to suffer. You can make it totally fun and totally interesting. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you would have gotten quite some good ideas. All right, so let's get sorted out the idea of lack of confidence and lack of persistence. This is a blessed month we're in. It's a really good chance to start with a positive habit. So maybe we can learn to be a little bit more persistent when we're wanting to learn English. So, speaking in general involves 4 main things. We're talking about grammar here, pronunciation, vocabulary, and fluency. Any talk. When I'm talking to you now, there are 4 things that are highlighted or components of what I'm talking. There's a grammar. The grammar is the stuff that you guys have been learning in school and that I have no idea about. You know, the difference between a noun and an adjective and an adverb and, I don't know, the ly and ing and I before e and all these rules and things. And this is just one component of the speaking. Another component is a pronunciation, is how words are said. You could have, you know, great grammar, great vocab, but the way you pronounce the words is wrong, so it would get in your way of speaking well, right? So for example, the word schedule could also be said as schedule. So these are differences in pronunciation. Vocabulary means basically the amount of words that you know. So instead of using the word good repeatedly, oh, I'm good, I'm feeling good, you could say, oh, I'm feeling pleasant, happy, you know, all the synonyms associated with the word. Okay, and vocabulary is not a very difficult thing to learn. If you listen to lots of English, if you read it, you know, if you look up words and stuff like that, you're gonna pick up a lot of vocabulary. Yeah. The thing is here is the main problem is the fluency problem, which is being able to talk without majorly stopping to think, to have your words flowing together. And this is the part where most of us struggle. Most of us know grammar. Most of us can learn how to pronounce through, you know, many sources. A lot can learn by vocabulary, but fluency is the thing, and this is the key thing that people confuse. I mean, I want to talk native. When people say I want to talk native, usually they think of, you know, I want to talk with the American accent or the British accent. But actually, to talk like a native is more associated with fluency rather than just accent. Fluency is the fluidity and the smooth flowingness of your words, and this only comes by practice, and I will show you a little bit further on how we could practice and get improved fluency in our language. Alrighty. So on my little search online, and I admit I've done a lot of research on this topic. It's not easy at all to talk about speaking good English, especially if, you know, I didn't have to go through the tedious process of learning English myself. But I found really good advice and really good sources. And one of the coolest analogies I've heard is that learning to speak English is like learning to sing a song. So basically, you are in the car, and then a beautiful, awesome song comes on, and it's got such a good beat, and you know, it's so cool, and it's so catchy, and you like the way it flows, and you're like, hey, you know, when I go home, I'm gonna get the lyrics and know what they're talking about. So you get the lyrics, you listen to the song while it's playing, while you read the lyrics, yeah, and then you try to sing along while the song is playing and while you're reading the lyrics. So you could kind of imitate it. You could kind of sound like the singer. Then you get to the degree in which you know the lyrics well, you turn the music off and you start practicing for yourself. You get the karaoke on and you start practicing. Hopefully not eating the mic like this kitty. Okay? So this is analogous to learning English. So there's 3 main steps to learning English. The first thing is listening. Before you start talking, you have to listen, just like when you're listening to the song for the first time. You have to listen carefully. What do you listen to carefully? You have to listen to the people that are native speakers, people who speak good English. So, like who? right? I'm not going to say, go listen to songs, because mainly songs are not going to teach you good conversational English. But watch native speakers. Some really good examples, like Barack Obama. The way he talks is pretty awesome. CNN News. Try not to focus on the content. Just try to focus on how they say the words. Look at the way that these native speakers move their mouth, the way they use their lips and their tongue to express the certain words. Yeah, this is really, really quite a valuable thing. People don't really notice that, but if you do focus on the mouth of the person speaking, whether it be in real life, whether it be in a video, and I'm going to show you pretty good videos where you could pick up really good things, and watch how they talk. And this should be something that you should do every day. You put on an English video or turn on BBC, and you see how they move their mouth and how they express the words, okay, and the stresses on the certain words. Movies aren't such a great idea, and the reason I say this is because we watch movies for entertainment. We don't usually have the intention of being educated during movies. So that the part of your brain while you're watching a movie is totally disconnected to the part associated with active learning. But if you have the intention to learn while watching movies, by all means you can do that, even though you might come out, swearing and knowing all sorts of slang words. But movie classics are good. And getting English subtitles so that you could kind of follow what is being said with the written words. Okay, Arabic subtitles are not in the equation. Don't even think about it. Okay, and something that I particularly like are audiobooks. Now, what are audiobooks? Audiobooks are basically what the name refers to. A book that has already been written, but somebody has decided to narrate it, record it on MP3 or whatever, and basically you can listen to it on the go. So if you get stuck on a metro, in the car, in traffic, and we all get stuck in all those things, you could turn on an audiobook and you could listen to a book being read, or you could listen to a podcast. And the good thing about audiobooks that you could also do is, while you're listening, get the book, get the actual ebook or the actual book, and follow along with the narrator. This is really cool. I did this myself when learning languages. I like to follow the person speaking with what is written and correlate to how words sound. And if you do this on a daily basis, like 10 minutes listening to some audiobook or a podcast or something on your MP3 or iPod or whatever, this is such a good idea. And it doesn't take time, it doesn't take much effort, okay? It just needs you to know where to get those audiobooks from, and I will help you out with that a little later on. Remember, listening has to be a daily activity, okay? You have to listen every day to at least like 15 minutes or something of English being read, okay? The next step, after you've been listening, you start imitating, just like kids. And this is how I learned my English, is by basically imitating. I was a kid, I was abroad, I was listening to people talking, and what did I do? I was just copying what I heard. I'd go home and say, stuff that I'd recorded throughout the day, okay? And it's okay to sound stupid at first. It's all right, yeah? And read out loud some of the words you find hard to pronounce. Okay, so for example, you've just heard a news report, and there's some like difficult words in there. There's something called the transcript or something like that on YouTube videos sometimes, which are not really great, but you could use them, and which will help you to kind of read through and repeat the word and go over the text. You could read out loud, reading out loud from either a book or articles online or something like that. I know right now I'm just saying really kind of random ideas, but hopefully by the end of it we would have collected a couple of things together and made it more structured. And then after you imitate, you practice practice, 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 practice. Every opportunity you get to talk in English, take it. Whether you're at home with the family, try to slip in a couple of English words, even though you'll be laughed at first. It's okay. If you got some good mates who are also keen about learning English, get together, meet up every week. Make it something regular. Don't make it like, every now and again we just remember to meet up and stuff. No, make it regular. Set up a little group together and say, guys, we're going to meet next week. We're going to discuss this. We're going to read aloud to each other. We're going to correct each other. This is really, really good. And, it really depends on your friends. But try to make it regular. Try to make it a routine. Okay? Making online native friends, this is something kind of controversial. I don't really like the idea. There are lots of websites online that allow you to connect with native speakers so that you can, speak to each other and practice English through Skype or through Hangout or whatever, which is quite interesting. But I cannot say it is the gold standard for learning English. You could have it as, a supplement to you improving in your spoken English and in your fluency. However, I would not recommend that this becomes, your first line. Because the thing is, it starts off good, like, hey, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. Where are you from? I'm from Egypt. Oh, wow, tell me about the pyramids and tell me about the political instability. The very typical questions we get. And then, it just starts to get kind of meaningless after a while, and it's not the gold standard in my opinion. Anyway, so that's something you could also consider. And there's websites called like Duolingo, or I can't think of anything right now, but I think I can post up some links in the comment section below. Of course, if you end up being a loner, which is 99% of cases, you can always talk to yourself. Now, I'm not making fun of you here, but I actually do that all the time, talking to myself. And because I do it, it's probably cool. Not really. But really, it's actually quite an interesting thing. I was talking to a girl who was making some videos up on YouTube, and she was talking about how she improved in her English. And she said because she didn't find many people to talk to, she would often pretend she's on some like sort of talk show or cooking show. So like she was in the kitchen. Or you ladies out there, while you're preparing like iftar and something, and you're in the kitchen alone, okay, nobody can overhear you talking to yourself. While you're cutting up the potatoes, you're like, okay, so right now I'm cutting up the potatoes, I'm using the knife, I'm, you just use, like boiling up the water to 100 Celsius, and I don't know, stuff like that. You could always practice, by talking to yourself. There is nothing wrong with talking to yourself. Okay? As long as you just don't overdo it and start like talking in your sleep and stuff like that. But talking to yourself is actually not a bad idea. You could record to hear your own voice. You could record yourself while you're reading to yourself. You could, yeah, exactly. I think I won't elaborate on that point too much. Taking English speaking courses. I put that as a last point, not because it's not important. I think it's really important, but the idea is I don't have much knowledge about English speaking courses, especially in Egypt or whatever country you're in. So, if I happen to know about these things like British Council courses or Ahmed East courses or something like that, maybe I'll make a video about it, but right now I don't have much information about courses and stuff like that. But they are definitely a very good way to learn English. Not a long-lasting method. It's just something to get you started. Something to get you moving on the first step of learning English, because it allows you to get a daily access to speaking English to natives, having two-way communication. It's really cool. It's pretty good as well. But it needs you to kind of think through it well and not waste your money on stuff that might not be helpful. So maybe that'll be a topic of a later video. Yeah, an interesting fact. Did you know that research says, and by the way, anything that starts with research says, most likely people will believe, which is not necessarily true, but I promise you that this is true from experience. That if you want to get familiar with a language, you have to practice daily for 15 to 30 minutes so that your facial muscles would actually adapt to the language. It is a sort of training. You know, we got some guys who want to look buff and muscular, and, you know, they go work out every day, okay? And then after a couple of months, you know, you see them with the six-pack and the biceps and all this stuff, right, to impress all the girls. It is a form of training when you are speaking English every day for a little while, every day for months, for up to 3 months. They say actually it takes your facial muscles 3 months to adapt, because it's clear and it's obvious that to move your muscles in speaking English is way different than moving your muscles in speaking Arabic. It might not seem so, but it is. Okay? The sequence at which we move our muscles in English is different. So by practicing, it'll help you get your muscles in tone to speak English as well, right? So hopefully I gave you enough reasons for you to actually persist and think about, you know, taking it up as a habit. Not a hobby, but a habit. Like every day you do it, and you could do it in the most fun ways ever. It doesn't have to be boring, okay? It doesn't have to be tedious. You just do something that you like, okay? You can read about topics that you like in English. It doesn't have to be something of, you know, boredom, right? And, you know, I'm sure that you guys all have heard about it, and for you to watch this video, you have to be on it. The World Wide Web. World Wide Web, or the internet, is a source of endless opportunities for you to learn great English. Okay? But you just need to know where to look. So let us take a look at a couple of websites together. Alrighty, so some websites that I come up with. So the first website that I particularly like is called Howjusay. Howjusay.com. It's like how do you say, but they put the J instead of the or how do you. Anyway, so howjusay.com. Basically, any word that you come across that you don't know how to pronounce, you type it in, and it will give you the British or American pronunciation for it. So, I wrote in the word absent-minded. Maybe you can hear this. Okay. Maybe you can hear this.
Absent-minded.
Good, absent-minded. Or, what about this word?
Absinthe.
Absinthe. Kind of a difficult word to say. So any words that you come across that you don't know how to pronounce, go on howjusay.com and type it in, and you could repeat after the guy, and, you know, endlessly. It's pretty cool and interesting, and very easy to use. Alright, next website. This is a really cool website called LibriVox. LibriVox is basically a volunteer website in which people come together who are interested in reading English books, old English books, and recording them so that people would listen to them for free. So they're free audiobooks, basically. This is a source of free audiobooks. Most audiobooks, you actually have to buy them. So if you can buy audiobooks online or at your bookstore, that's fabulous. If you don't have the resources to buy audiobooks, then you could just go on something like LibriVox or another website I'm going to show you in a second. LibriVox is cool. Basically, it's LibriVox.org. And actually, I'll put the links down for you so you don't have to take notes. And basically, there's a catalog of all the books that they have, and you could pick out a book. For example, this book called The Alchemist by... No, this is not by the guy, the famous guy. This is by Ben Jonson. I don't know if it's the same book. It's probably, definitely not, for example. And you could download the book and put it on your MP4 and listen to it while you're on the go. No, it's definitely not the same book because it's about the plague in London. Okay. So this is LibriVox.com, and the coolest thing ever is that if you've gained enough confidence in English, you could actually volunteer to record a chapter of a book with a couple of people, and you could actually publish your own recording in a book on LibriVox, and you would help benefit other people. I think that's pretty cool. The third website that I particularly like is learnoutloud.com. I've often used this website to get audiobooks as well. I go in the free stuff because I'm a cheap person. And these are just categories of books. So for example, I usually go and get self-development stuff. So, while you're learning good English, you could also help, improve your soft skills and stuff like that. So all of these are pretty good selections. Some are books. Robin Sharma, very nice motivational speaker, book by James Allen. So Stephen Covey's. So you could get all sorts of books here. You can download them for free, put them on your MP3, and take a listen to them on your way, commuting to college or whatever. Okay? So these are really, really good things. You could just devote 15 minutes every day to just listening to these things. Another website, which I found of very interesting and useful resources, is the BBC World Service Learning English website. This website is cool because it is trying to help you become fluent. This is exactly what we've been talking about. It wants you to improve your fluency in English by providing you with these little recordings that, you listen to them, and then they give you exercises to do at the end of them. So there are 12 episodes to this one. So if you say, I'm going to do one every day, I'm going to listen to one of them every day, okay, and, whatever exercise it involves, this would be cool. So you'd be practicing for 12 days something, and you'd have, some sort of routine you can follow. Okay? So, that's one. Next. Yes. This is a wonderful, and YouTube is so, awesome when it comes to resources for learning English. This is called the VOA Learning English channel. And this is basically getting you news, slowing it down a little bit, putting subtitles on it, so you'd be able to follow along with the news as it's happening. Also, the cool thing is that it allows you to have Skype calls with the pros or the people who set up the channel, and they could get your Skype, you could have a Skype call with them. So this is a lady. What do you think of the events in Egypt? And she had a Skype call with them, and she told them about, her opinion on all the things that are happening. That's pretty cool. And there's lots of resources here. That's just plenty of resources. So this is the VOA Learning channel. This is just one of hundreds of amazing English learning channels. Another one I highly recommend is the BBC Learning English channel. Awesome. I don't even need to go into detail. It just gives you pronunciation tips, how to pronounce a long vowel, consonants, all this stuff. Really good and interesting, and they make it very fun, using cartoons and things like that. So I think you're going to have a great time learning English, practicing and imitating and all this stuff. Just, have a good intention while you're doing it. Okay, try to have as much fun as possible. Know that it's a habit, and always whenever you start to get demotivated or bored or whatever, remember that every little day or every little minute that you expend into learning this language, the more it's going to help you in the future to express yourself, so you don't get stuck and put in awkward and horrible situations. Okay? So these are some of the websites. I will post the links, inshallah. These are just some of the few. I'm just giving